What if a miracle meant to point people to God ended up making them worship the wrong thing? What if doing something good, something powerful, something life-changing led to confusion, chaos, and even violence? And what if the way people see you is completely different from who you really are? In the city of Lystra, life moved at a slower pace. It was quieter than the larger cities, less structured, less rooted in Jewish tradition. Most people there didn't grow up with the scriptures. They didn't know the prophecies. They didn't have the same foundation, but they were still searching, still hoping, still waiting for something beyond what they could see. And into that place walked Paul and Barnabas. No grand entrance, no announcement, just two men carrying a message and a purpose. One day, as Paul was speaking, there was a man sitting nearby. He had been crippled from birth. He had never walked, not once. Every step he had ever seen was someone else's, but he was listening. That matters, because sometimes the first step toward transformation isn't movement, it's attention. Paul noticed him, not just with his eyes, but with discernment. He saw something deeper, faith, not perfect understanding, not complete knowledge, but a readiness, a belief that something could change. And in that moment, Paul did something bold. He called out in a loud voice, "Stand up on your feet." No hesitation. No gradual process, just a command. And the man jumped up and began to walk. Just like that, years of limitation gone in an instant. What had never been possible became reality. The crowd saw it, and everything shifted, but not in the way you might expect. Instead of recognizing the power of God, they interpreted it through their own understanding, through their own culture, their own beliefs. They shouted in their local language, "The gods have come down to us in human form." They called Barnabas Zeus. They called Paul Hermes because he was the main speaker. In their minds, this miracle could only mean one thing. They were standing in the presence of gods. And it didn't stop there. The priest of Zeus brought bulls and wreaths to the city gates. The crowd was ready to offer sacrifices to them. Think about that moment. Paul and Barnabas had come to point people to God. But now they were being mistaken for gods. It's almost unbelievable, but also deeply human. Because when people encounter something powerful, something beyond explanation, they often try to fit it into what they already believe, even if it's wrong. When Paul and Barnabas realized what was happening, they were horrified. They tore their clothes, a sign of deep distress, and rushed into the crowd, shouting, "Friends, why are you doing this? We too are only human, like you." There was urgency in their voices, not pride, not acceptance. They didn't take advantage of the moment. They didn't enjoy the attention. They didn't let the misunderstanding continue. They stopped it immediately, because the truth mattered more than the praise. They began to redirect the crowd, to shift their focus. "We are bringing you good news," they said, "telling you to turn from these worthless things to the living God." Not just any God, the living God. The one who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them. They spoke about how, in the past, God allowed nations to go their own way, but he never left himself without a witness. He showed kindness. He gave rain, crops, food, joy. Even without knowing him fully, people had experienced his goodness, and now they were being invited to truly know him. But even with all that, it was difficult to stop the crowd from sacrificing to them. That's how strong the misunderstanding was. That's how powerful human perception can be, especially when it's not rooted in truth. And then, just as quickly as the crowd had lifted them up, everything changed. Some Jews came from Antioch and Iconium. The same opposition that had followed Paul and Barnabas before found them again. They didn't come quietly. They stirred up the crowd. The same people who had just moments ago been ready to worship Paul and Barnabas were now turning against them. That's how quickly public opinion can shift. One moment you're praised, the next you're rejected. The crowd was persuaded, and this time it wasn't admiration, it was violence. They stoned Paul. They dragged him outside the city, thinking he was dead. Just like that, from miracle to misunderstanding to near death, all in one story, all in one place. And maybe that feels shocking, but if we're honest, it reflects something real about life. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't protect you from pain. Sometimes, even when God is working, things can still go wrong. People can misunderstand you. They can misrepresent your intentions. They can turn against you, even if you've done nothing but try to help. And in those moments, it's easy to ask, was it worth it? Should I have stayed silent? Should I have done less? But look at what happens next. After the crowd left, assuming Paul was gone, something unexpected happened. The disciples gathered around him and he got up. He didn't stay down. He didn't give up. He got up and went back into the city. Think about that. The same place where he was attacked. The same people who turned against him. He returned, not out of stubbornness, but out of purpose. And the next day he and Barnabas left for Derbe, continuing to preach the good news. The mission didn't stop, even after pain, even after rejection, even after being misunderstood. This story carries something powerful for us today. Because maybe you've experienced something similar, not in the same way, but in the same pattern. You tried to do something good. You stepped out in faith. You helped someone. You spoke truth. And instead of appreciation, you were misunderstood. Instead of support, you faced resistance, maybe even hurt. And now you're wondering, should I keep going? Is it worth it? What if people get it wrong again? But the story of Lystra reminds us of something important. Your purpose is not defined by how people respond. It's defined by who you are called to follow. Paul and Barnabas didn't measure success by applause, because applause can turn into rejection. They didn't rely on people's opinions, because opinions can change in a moment. They stayed grounded in truth, in calling, in mission. And that's what gave them the strength to continue, to stand when praised, to stand when attacked, to stand when misunderstood. And maybe that's what you need today. Not a guarantee that things will be easy, but a reminder that you can keep going. That your faith doesn't have to be shaken by every reaction. That your purpose is bigger than people's perceptions. Because the truth is, sometimes people will misunderstand your intentions. Sometimes they'll place expectations on you that you were never meant to carry. Sometimes they'll even turn against you. But that doesn't change who you are. And it doesn't change what God is doing. In Lystra, a man who had never walked. That miracle was real. Even if people misunderstood it, even if they reacted the wrong way, even if the moment turned chaotic, God still moved, and he still moves today, in ways we understand and in ways we don't. The challenge is not just to believe in the miracle, but to stay faithful in the confusion that sometimes follows, to keep pointing back to truth, to keep your heart aligned, to refuse to take credit that doesn't belong to you, and to refuse to be defined by the highs or the lows, because both can distract you. The praise can pull you off course, and the pain can try to stop you completely. But if you stay grounded, you can move through both. Just like Paul did. He didn't let the crowd define him. Not when they called him a god. Not when they left him for dead. He knew who he was, and more importantly, he knew who he served. That's the kind of clarity that changes everything. Because when you know that, you don't have to chase approval. You don't have to fear rejection. You can simply walk forward, step by step, moment by moment, trusting that what you're doing matters, even when it's misunderstood, even when it's hard, even when it costs something. And maybe today, this message is for you. To remind you that you're not alone, that what you're facing is not meaningless, that your journey, your struggles, your questions, your moments of doubt, they all fit into something bigger. So don't stop. Don't let confusion pull you away. Don't let rejection silence you. Keep going, keep trusting, keep pointing back to what is true, because even in Lystra, even in the middle of chaos, God was still working, and he still is, right here, right now. Thank you for watching this video. If this message encouraged you or gave you something to think about, don't forget to like, follow the channel Holy Path Insights, and share this video with someone who might need it today. Your support helps spread faith, truth, and hope to more people around the world.